And so Paul gets a letter, much like the emails that I get from time to time. Is it acceptable for a Christian to? Is it okay for a Christian to? And so he responds. And he responds like you always have to respond when somebody asks that kind of question. I know that in school we're always taught, no, there are no bad questions. That's actually a bad question. Because if you're asking, is it okay for a Christian to? Well, what that means is you're not asking, or I hope you're not asking, sometimes I even get these questions, right? What it means is you're not asking a question about the black and white teaching of Scripture. In other words, people don't write an email and go, I'm just curious, is it okay for a Christian to murder somebody? Is it okay for a Christian to commit adultery? Right? If there's a verse for it, then you wouldn't be writing the email, right? You're writing the email because it's some issue about which there's not a particular verse, and it's more of a wisdom issue. And if it's more of a wisdom issue, then asking, is it acceptable for a Christian to, is a terrible question because you're trying to turn wisdom into law. So you're saying, hey, I've got a wisdom issue and I'd like for you to give me a law answer. Which means you're asking the wrong question. You need to be asking a question about the relationship between law and gospel or something else, like not the particular thing that you're asking about. So whenever your question is it acceptable for a Christian to? And my favorite is when I get that about something that they know that I do or have done. So, for example, I'm practice martial arts. I practice Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I compete in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And I will compete again in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu as soon as I get released by my doctors. But anyway, so I compete in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I love it. You know, people are like, you know, you're a martial artist. I was just wondering, is it acceptable for a Christian to be a martial artist? And sometimes, you know, bad Voddie wants to just write back and go, no, that's completely unacceptable. But instead, I let kind of bad Voddie write back and go, which martial arts are you referring to? The ones in the Bible, like boxing, wrestling, archery? Yeah, those are all martial arts. Martial means war. Those are war arts. But do you get my point? Now, all of a sudden, we get back into that wisdom area. Well, this is what Paul is dealing with. Is this an acceptable idea? Is it right for us to reject sex and to embrace instead celibacy? And Paul starts back and he says, well, it's good for people to exercise celibacy, but it's not as simple as that.